Not all warmth is from the sun. Some of it is the heat from a fire set to burn your world down, lit by someone you invited in. There is a moment of reckoning when the people you've built your life around start to show you the blueprints of your own invisible prison. You won't hear it in their words, but you'll feel it in their gravity, in their agenda, and in the way your own spirit contracts the second they are near. This isn't a theory. This is the quiet warfare happening in your living room, disguised as friendship and family ties. You know the feeling, the sudden spiritual exhaustion, the conversations that feel like transactions, the phantom dread that lingers long after they've gone. These are not mere personality clashes. They are echoes of a deeper, more intentional sabotage. If you've ever thought, why do I feel so empty and small around this person? Then this message has already found you. We're not discussing phantoms, but the architects of loneliness who live and breathe among us, skilled at dismantling your confidence from the inside. Today, I'm giving you the keys to spot these emotional arsonists who masquerade as your allies before they reduce your peace of mind to ashes. There are individuals in your orbit who can diminish your light without ever raising their voice. Their mere presence acts like a black hole, pulling your energy into a void from which nothing returns. You enter their space feeling hopeful, centered, and full, but you leave feeling spiritually overdrawn, your mood tanked, your inner quiet shattered. You make excuses. They're just going through a lot. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. But your soul, your truest compass, is screaming a warning that your mind is trying to silence. These are the people who only ever make withdrawals from your emotional bank account. Your validation, your advice, your strength, your joy. It's a one-way street paved with their needs, their emergencies, their self-inflicted crises. You unwittingly become the unpaid therapist for their chaos, and they walk away lighter, leaving you to carry the weight of their darkness. This isn't just about feeling tired. It's a spiritual deficit. Your eyes can't see the theft, but your spirit feels the emptiness. These are the wolves in family clothing, the smiling faces that conceal an entity feeding on the very light that makes you, you. It's a form of spiritual cannibalism, and their ignorance of the act doesn't make their bite any less venomous. You must stop asking if you're overreacting and start asking why your internal alarm system only blares around them. That feeling is not a flaw, it's a feature. Your energy is your most sacred currency, and not everyone has earned the right to trade with you. Start auditing your interactions. Do you leave feeling expanded or shrunken, inspired or insecure, more yourself or less? Demons don't always arrive with thunder and lightning. Sometimes they arrive with a hug, a compliment, and the keys to your house. But if every visit leaves you feeling more disconnected from your own power, it's time to name it for what it is, not a difficult relationship, but a spiritual assassination. You don't have to confront them, expose them, or save them. You simply have to choose yourself, turn the lock, and reclaim your sanctuary. Your spirit already knows the truth your heart is afraid to accept. Not everyone in your circle is in your corner, and some are actively dismantling it. Protect your energy. Guard your peace. Your spirit's survival is at stake. They are master weavers of doubt, twisting the threads of truth so skillfully that you start to question the fabric of your own reality. These people rarely resort to bold, faced lies. That's amateur work. Instead, they are artists of distortion. They'll take a sliver of truth, a comment out of context, an emotional story, and frame it in a way that casts a shadow on someone else while they remain the innocent, concerned party. Their primary weapon is insinuation. I hate to be the one to say this, but, or, I'm probably wrong, but I got a weird vibe from them. These are carefully planted seeds of discord, designed to crack the foundations of your trust, isolate you from your actual support system, and position themselves as your only reliable source of truth. And as you start to pull away from the very people who protect you, you become isolated, dependent, and perfectly primed for their control. This is the demonic playbook. It operates not through open war, but through silent, creeping confusion. They stir the pot just enough to create an emotional flare up, then step back to watch the chaos, hands clean, feigning shock. They understand that if they can poison your perception, they can rewrite your reality. You'll start to see enemies in friends, believe fiction over fact, and eventually adopt their warped narrative as your own. That is spiritual warfare fought with whispers. And the scariest part, these people often appear intensely loyal, even loving. They'll tell you they're just looking out for you, that their brutal honesty is a sign of care. But what they're truly doing is severing your connections to peace and clarity. You'll find yourself feeling more paranoid, second, guessing relationships that were once your bedrock, and you'll trace it all back to the one person who is the common denominator in every severed tie. That is not a coincidence. It is a strategic demolition. Demonic spirits don't shout. They whisper, they charm, and they divide. When someone consistently creates friction, but never offers a solution, highlights everyone's flaws but their own, recognize them. They are not protecting you. They are imprisoning you. And in isolation, they become your warden. Open your eyes. Protect your circle, and above all, protect your mind from the poison disguised as concern. They are the keepers of your old story, and they celebrate your pain because it's a chapter they feel comfortable in. If you're not paying attention, you'll mistake their fascination with your struggle for genuine empathy. These are the people who rush to your side with a comforting hand when you've hit rock bottom, when your heart is in pieces, when your world has crumbled. But the second you start to rise, to heal, to find your footing, their energy changes. They become dismissive, subtly critical, or eerily quiet. Why? Because your strength invalidates their self-appointed role as your savior. Your power makes their own stagnation feel glaring. As long as you are broken, they feel necessary, important, even superior. But when you stand on your own 2 feet, they feel left behind. They want you dependent, not sovereign, lost, not found. And here's the brutal truth. They don't love you. They love the version of you that needs them. They love the you that validates their existence by being in a constant state of crisis. They love the you that is too weak to challenge them, to outgrow them, to leave them. So when you start drawing lines in the sand, putting your well, being first, and chasing your own light, they can't stand it. Their jealousy will wear the mask of friendly advice. They'll mock your new ambitions, call your progress a face, or label your dreams as naive. They will say things like, "Don't get too big for your britches," not as a loving warning, but as a command to shrink back down to a size they can manage. Deep down, they don't want you to succeed because your victory feels like their defeat. And that's how you know this isn't just an unhealthy dynamic. It is a spirit that thrives on weakness and fears the light of potential. You must learn to watch how people react not to your breakdowns, but to your breakthroughs. Anyone who is more invested in your struggle than your strength is not a friend. They are an anchor to your past. Demons won't always try to break you with anger. Sometimes, they'll try to lull you with the comfort of your own brokenness. But being comfortable in your pain is not love, it's a cage. Stop mistaking their pity for partnership. Pay attention to who champions your power, not just your problems. Because real love is not afraid of your ascent. It is the wind beneath your wings. They treat your boundaries like suggestions, not sacred lines. They don't do it from ignorance. They do it from a deep-seated belief that your rules of engagement simply don't apply to them. These are the individuals who hear your no as the opening bid in a negotiation. You ask for a weekend alone, and they show up at your door. You say you don't have the emotional capacity, and they unload their drama anyway. You draw a line, and they treat it like a starting line in a race to see how fast they can cross it. This isn't a simple misunderstanding. It is an act of spiritual entitlement. When someone repeatedly ignores the fences you've built to protect your sanity, your time, and your energy, they are telling you a profound truth. They do not value your sovereignty. They only value their unconditional access to you, and access without respect is the definition of plunder. These people operate with a spirit that feels entitled to your resources, your presence, and your life force, regardless of how depleted you are. They will disguise this entitlement as closeness or care, but at its heart, it's about maintaining power. Your boundaries are a direct threat to anyone who needs to control you. They cannot manipulate what they cannot touch. So they chip away at your resolve, testing the perimeter, knowing that a history of your capitulation is on their side. They will use guilt to make you question your own right to peace. They'll say, "You've become so distant," or "I guess I'm not important anymore," when all you've done is stop letting them drink from a well that has run dry. And that is the power of a boundary. It doesn't just protect you, it reveals who was never there for you in the first place. Anyone who meets your limits with anger, manipulation, or a guilt trip is showing you that their connection was built on your submission, not on mutual honor. When you finally stand up for your spiritual territory, they see it as a personal attack because, in their world, your availability is their property. But hear this loud and clear: you owe no one 24/7 access to your soul, especially not those who would trample on your spirit to get what they want. Demonic energy doesn't always show up with a roar. Sometimes it just shows up again and again, eroding your will not with a single blow, but with 1,000 persistent cuts until saying, "No," feels impossible. But your peace is your kingdom. Your time is your treasure. Your presence is a gift, not a given. Start guarding the gates to your soul, because anyone trying to force them open is not a visitor. They are a vandal. They are shadow artists mimicking your light so perfectly that you mistake their imitation for admiration, right before they use it to turn your world against you. These are the people who become students of you. They study your laugh, your passions, your way of speaking, your spiritual insights, every unique brushstroke of your being. They begin to replicate it with such precision, it's unnerving. At first, you'll be flattered. We have so much in common, but something darker is at play. They are not honoring you. They are trying on your soul like a coat, with the ultimate goal of claiming it as their own and convincing everyone you are the fake. It begins with subtle mirroring. They start using your unique phrases, sharing your niche interests, and suddenly their social media sounds exactly like a page from your private journal. And while you're trying to process this unsettling mimicry, they are already working in the shadows, planting seeds of doubt about you in the minds of others. They whisper things like, "I'm worried about them. They seem to have lost their way," or "They aren't as authentic as they used to be," slowly chipping away at your reputation with the very people who once championed you. And the most diabolical part, they use the persona they stole from you as the gold standard, and then paint you, the original, as a pale imitation. This is not just betrayal, it is spiritual identity theft. These aren't simply insecure people. They are vessels for a spirit that envies your light because it has none of its own. It mimics because it cannot create. It steals because it is hollow. And when it becomes clear, it can never truly shine like you. Its only option is to extinguish your flame through character assassination. Before you know it, your friends are distant, your allies are questioning you, and you're left wondering what you did wrong. The answer is that someone weaponized your own essence against you. This is psychological warfare disguised as flattery. It's not just a toxic friend, it's a parasitic entity that uses your own light to build itself up, only to cast a shadow over you. The only defense is to be unshakably, unapologetically you. Remain anchored in your truth and let time expose the counterfeit. No copy can withstand the power of the original. Guard your identity as if your life depends on it, because in the spiritual realm it does. They use guilt as a currency to buy your continued presence. Not love, not respect, but guilt, a spiritual chain forged from your own empathy, designed to keep you tethered to them long after the connection has become toxic. These people don't need the relationship to be healthy or reciprocal. They just need you to stay within reach so they can continue to draw from your well of energy, loyalty, and forgiveness. And the moment they feel you pulling away, waking up, or drawing a boundary, they don't reflect or apologize. They weaponize your own compassion against you. They will recount their past favors, emphasize their current fragility, or paint a picture of their utter devastation should you choose to leave. They'll say things like, "I guess I'm just too much for you." Or, "After all we've been through, you're just going to walk away." These words are precision, guided missiles aimed at your sense of duty. They turn your kindness into a cage, convincing you that your freedom would be their destruction. And so you stay, trapped not by affection, but by the fear of being labeled the bad guy. But let me be clear, guilt is not a measure of love. It is the primary tool of manipulators who benefit from your self-betrayal. A demon will never truly appreciate you, but it will always ask, "How could you do this to me?" These spirits attach themselves to your conscience and use it as a lever to drain you, one sacrifice at a time, until you are too exhausted to even imagine a life without their weight. They don't want your healing, they want your compliance. They don't want a partnership, they want ownership. They know that as long as you feel guilty, you will stay, even as your own spirit withers. But real love does not issue an invoice. It liberates, it empowers, it wants the best for you, even if that means goodbye. Guilt binds you to people who are allergic to growth, who see your evolution as a personal betrayal of their control. It is not your responsibility to stay small to make them feel big. It is not your job to set yourself on fire to keep them warm. You are not their savior, and their emotional state is not your life sentence. Emotional blackmail is spiritual warfare in slow motion, and the instant you recognize it, you gain a choice: remain a prisoner in the cell they built with your own goodness, or break free and reclaim your soul. You owe no one permanent real estate in your life, especially those who only know how to make you feel too guilty to leave. Release the guilt, and you release yourself. They trigger a deep, primal anxiety that has no logical source. It's not about what they say, but what your spirit detects humming beneath the surface of their being. You can be in a perfectly calm setting, and suddenly your chest tightens, a knot forms in your stomach, and your mind feels like a shaken snow globe. You can't pinpoint a reason because, on the outside, nothing is wrong. They are smiling, making small talk, acting completely normal, but your soul is in high alert mode. This is not you being dramatic. This is your spirit's smoke detector going off. There may not be a visible fire, but it's detecting the invisible carbon monoxide of a toxic presence. This anxiety isn't born from conflict. It's born from energetic friction with a presence that is deceptive, predatory, or simply draining. You'll try to rationalize it, blame it on coffee, or tell yourself you're just having an off day. But your body is an ancient, wise instrument. It knows when it is in the presence of a spiritual threat, long before your conscious mind can process the data. These people often carry a heavy, chaotic energy field, masked by a charming or familiar exterior. They might say all the right things, but their aura screams with inner turmoil, envy, or deceit. And your spirit feels that dissonance even if you can't articulate it. You will leave interactions with them feeling like you have to second, guess your own reality, re-evaluate your worth, or scrub the energetic residue off of you. That's the sign. They haven't just occupied your time, they've contaminated your inner space. Anxiety is often the first red flag that you are in the company of someone whose spirit is fundamentally at odds with your own. And if being around them consistently makes you feel smaller, more confused, or less connected to your own core, that is not a relationship. It is a spiritual hazard. These are the people who seem harmless, but carry unresolved darkness that is actively looking for a foothold in you. When you feel that groundless anxiety, do not ignore it. See it as sacred intelligence. Who are you with? What happens to your inner peace when they speak, when they look at you, when they enter your personal space? Your peace doesn't lie. Your tension doesn't lie. Sometimes your anxiety is not a disorder. It is a message from your soul saying, "We are not safe here." And when your soul speaks, you must learn to listen. Protecting your peace is not self-indulgent. It's a non-negotiable act of survival. Never apologize for removing yourself from a situation that your spirit has already rejected, even when your eyes can't see anything wrong. The unseen world is often the truest one. They find humor in your tears and tragedy in your triumph, because your pain validates their position and your success magnifies their own sense of lack. These are the people who call themselves your confidants, your friends, your family. But in truth, they are only comfortable when you are spiritually or emotionally beneath them. When you are hurting, they feign concern, but there's an undercurrent of morbid curiosity, or worse, satisfaction. They might not laugh in your face, but you'll catch a flicker of amusement in their eyes, a subtle smirk, a casual dismissal of your pain that communicates, "This is where you belong." They offer hollow platitudes instead of real comfort, or they'll offer tough love that feels more like cruelty. But watch what happens when the tide turns. Let healing enter your life. Let your light come back on. Let opportunity knock on your door. Suddenly, their demeanor shifts. They become cold, distant, or openly critical. They will minimize your achievements, attribute your success to luck, or find a way to make your joy feel undeserved. You'll hear phrases like, "Well, it must be nice," or "Don't forget the little people," or they'll try to frame your newfound confidence as arrogance to soothe their own bruised ego. This is not mere jealousy. This is spiritual opposition veiled in familiarity. Your growth highlights their stagnation. Your light forces them to see their own shadows. The problem isn't that you're becoming too much. It's that you are becoming what they were too afraid or too undisciplined to become themselves. Deep down, they don't hate you. They hate what you represent: the courage to heal, the discipline to grow, and the audacity to shine. When you are at your lowest, they are not there to help you up. They are there to take notes, because your struggle is their spectator sport. But when you rise, when you succeed, when you embody your full worth, they feel abandoned, not by you, but by the lesser version of you that kept them feeling powerful. That is not love. That is a spiritual hostage situation. These people were never meant to accompany you to your destiny. They were only assigned to see if you would stay stuck to keep them company. And once you outgrow the role that served their ego, they don't mourn you. They mourn the loss of their power over you. Pay close attention to who cheers when you win and who conveniently vanishes, because real love is not entertained by your pain or threatened by your progress. It champions your healing and stands proudly in the warmth of your greatness. Let those who cannot stand your light remain in the shadows they prefer. They are allergic to the frequency of truth, God, or light. It doesn't always manifest as a verbal protest, but as a visceral reaction, a palpable discomfort, a silent shutdown that occurs whenever genuine light enters the conversation. These are the people who are perfectly fine until you start talking about growth, purpose, or anything sacred.